Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy Murphy. There he is, the Murph. Murph.
What's up, brother?
RG Media, and of course the Eye Test podcast. It's Murph and
And a new one
Pierre.
coming up,
It's
Simmer,
Pierre
actually.
McGuire. What?
A new podcast will be debuting on October 8th, right after the Bruins game. My friend Brendan Snott and I are doing a post-game Bruins podcast after every game on the Sick Media Network called
Wait,
Bruins Vibes.
Brendan Snott?
No, no, you can call him that. We'll rib
It
him a
sounded
bit.
like you
No,
said Brendan Snott.
Snott, Snott, Brendan
What?
Snott. Brendan, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, and he's not going to like it. Brendan Sennett is his
Oh,
name.
Brendan Sennett. That makes
Yes,
a lot more
yes, that makes a lot more sense than snot or boogers. But
snot.
yeah, we'll be doing that after every Bruins game. It's going to be an hour long. We're going to have guests, Bruins related guests, and also guests from the opposing team of that night, and also take questions and texts and calls from the viewers that want to vent their frustration or joy over the Boston Bruins.
Very nice. By
Yes.
the way, now that I've put all of our information down below us and all that, I'm going to put a box around us. So give me some headroom. Tilt back so I get a little headroom
Oh yeah,
here.
sorry about that, man. On
Yeah,
the couch watching the Sox Yankees, so not in
yeah,
my
back
usual
up, you
spot.
bum. There you
There we
go.
go. Better? There we
Yeah.
go.
The eye test with Pierre is great. My old pal, who I worked with very briefly with NBC Sports. I don't think either one of us are. Well, he might be, but I won't be in Italy again this go around. I asked, but I got shut down.
Mhm.
All right, the Bruins. The fans of Vancouver will be really excited to know that they're struggling. That's one of their favorite things. They hate the Leafs. They hate the Bruins. What's the story? What the hell's going on? I'm looking at the depth chart going,
Yeah, it's a lot of mishmash when you get below. I mean, and I'm not going to go by position here. Let's just go by players and skill and the talent depth of the team. Once you get by David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm and very likely Jeremy Swayman, the talent depth drops off tremendously and it becomes more, and this is no knock on these players. There's some good players there, but it's more of a mishmash and no distinguished roles, whether you're talking the bottom four of the defense or the bottom nine of the forward group. It's going to be a committee type thing. And um, specifically up the middle, they have a lot of center capable players,
yeah,
Simmer, but they don't have an established number one center. And that I think, after so many years of Patrice Bergeron and having a 1-2 punch of him and David Krejci,
yeah.
um, it seems like, if there comes a time when Don Sweeney loses his job, I don't know if that's going to be after this season or the one after, who knows? If that ever happens, I do think one of the downfalls of his tenure as Boston Bruins general manager was he did not prepare a succession route after Bergeron and Krejci well enough, and it's coming back to haunt them right now.
Right. Yeah, Elias Lindholm's the guy, and he's not your what you consider your superstar top center. I'm telling you,
Right,
I'm familiar with this out, covering the crack, and they got a little handful of twos and threes.
right. Very
Pavel
similar.
Zacha, Casey Middlestat, and Sean Corrali. Is that the four talking
Yeah,
about?
that's it. And Fraser Minton might mix in there if he makes the team. He
Yeah.
could become a third line center or maybe a fourth line center in a spot duty.
How tough is it just because of the legendary status? Cam Neely, Hall of Famer, tough as nails, etc. Bruins hockey bleeds it black and gold. And then Don Sweeney, who is Borky's partner forever. I mean, eventually it does happen. We've seen it in Philadelphia. There was a changing of the guard a couple of different times with some of the traditional Broad Street bully types and some of the guys that came along
Right.
later. Ronnie Hextall, Clarkey moved upstairs. Craig Berube came in, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So it's not unprecedented, but just how much rope do they have, as you mentioned, in terms of rebuilding out of some of the legendary guys that they had in there?
The rope, I guess, to be frank, would be until Jeremy Jacobs starts really feeling a pinch,
Yeah.
until the Jacobs family feels a financial loss because of what's happening on the ice. Thankfully for them, they have some of the most loyal fans in the NHL, if not in sports. and they didn't pack it every game like they had in the past last season, but they come close. I mean, they're gonna majority, I'd say, percentage wise, they're gonna probably sell out 80% of their games, though that could change this year if it goes south real quick.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Until that point comes and they're feeling the pinch on concessions and seats sold and what have you, they're going to be okay with the status quo. And you make a great point there. I think it's a great analogy to the Flyers there is, a lot of teams fall into this, right? They want to keep it in the family. They want to keep it Bruins related. And I get that. But I think so many teams, whether it was the Flyers or, in my opinion, the Bruins now, don't veer away from that enough. And you would think the Bruins, in fairly recent memory, would have learned their lesson that sometimes it is better to bring a general manager in from the outside, because last I checked, did the last general manager of the Bruins' last Stanley Cup team have any Bruins connections before he got there?
No,
I don't
Peter
think so.
Chiarelli.
Chiarelli.
Yeah.
Came from Ottawa Senators. Yes, he played at Harvard. I get it. There was some Boston in him, but at the same time, I think they need some new, fresh eyes there when it comes to Cam Neely all the way down through pro scouting.
Right. Of course, Mike O'Connell made some difficult decisions, and Jeff Gorton played a little part in kind of the base of all that. What was a mess that became obviously a Stanley Cup championship. What about the overall reaction to the changes in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I get a lot of mixed reviews on the TV broadcast. I don't think as much the radio. In fact, I think a lot of people right now like the combo of Ryan Johnson and Bob Beers. Ryan Johnson's a straight shooter. I like him a lot. But I think a lot of people appreciate his honesty. And he tells it like it is, and he does a good job. But I think in terms of the TV, you were replacing. I feel for Judd Surratt because he was replacing such a staple there and a legend in Jack Edwards. So those are some hard shoes to fill. And I don't think it's gone as well as he nor the Bruins and NESN would like so far.
Right. I mean, Jack, if he was a legend, it wasn't for his ability to call a hockey game. It was because he was a ridiculous homer.
Yeah. I mean, and that was him, right? It was his personality. It's who he was.
Right.
And he didn't hide it. He wasn't afraid to hide it. But I get that. Look, I think you and I both love
it
in
fits
our
the
business.
market. It fit the market.
It fit the market. You and I both appreciate objectivity, and we both try to be as objective as possible because we're not per se working for the team. But you did once.
Yeah.
And when you work for a team, you got to be more of a team guy. That's just common sense. And I think Jack, for all his, let's just call it space fanboyisms, right? At the same time, when things were going south for a while, he wasn't afraid to say it. Like, he wasn't afraid to tell it like it is and say, look, we suck right now and this needs to change. But he did it from a fan's perspective. But that's what made him great. So, we'll see what happens this year. One thing that hasn't changed is Brickley is just still the same. He's great at his job.
Yeah, Brick's fantastic. Three things that popped in my head here along the way. First of all, in a week or so, we'll have the anniversary. I can't believe it was 2018. The death of John Martin, who was a unbelievable NESN.
Crazy, huh?
Can you
Didn't
believe
even
it's
think
been
about
that long?
that. Yeah.
NESN
Wow.
photographer, and I was going through a box of stuff, and I found the book he wrote before he passed away, and I contributed a little thing to it, and he'd written about me in there as part of the whole thing, and I tears in my eyes because then I watched the Red Sox Bruins 5-minute video they made for him. Oh God! So that was ALS, and that was John Martin and Cafe Martin. I cannot believe it's been 7 years.
Taught me how to do a stand-up, Simmer, during my little short stint at NESN.
Is that John Martin?
Yeah, he had more patience than anyone, a lot more patience than my ex-wife, I'll tell you that. But I don't blame her. But he's great, just a great guy, a great mentor, and he always had a sense of humor, and he loved what he did, man. Like he loved doing that job.
The hockey and baseball players loved him.
Yep.
A couple other things popped in my head. We were talking about long-standing legends in a market struggling and how long will they last. I just talked to Bob Duff couple days ago about the Red Wings. I mean, Stevie, why? Really?
Yeah.
But like, when does it start to they start to go, okay?
You-
Duffer seems to think that not this season, but the next one we'll start to see a lot of the kids that Yzerman has drafted and such and developed will have their chance in 2026, 27, and then that'll be the make or break. But to me, that's even almost amazing because
Yeah,
then,
I would think it would be after this season. If they don't
yeah,
make the playoffs this season, I'm sorry. And look, I grew up, Steve Yzerman was my favorite player, but I think that's the problem, right? Whether it's fans or media or the bosses of these general managers and coaches that were legends as players with those organizations, I think fall too in love with that nostalgia and they get blinded by it. And look, let's call a spade a spade. The Yzer plan has not worked yet. But I do think I
worked
see
in Tampa.
yeah, I'll disagree a bit with Duffer. I think we're going to see a make or break type season now. Like I do
Yeah.
think some of these players that he's built up and nurtured because they like to keep those guys down there. And hey, it's worked before. Like you said, it worked for Tampa. But I think this is sort of if I'm ownership, I'm looking at this is all right. Are these prospects for real? Is this so-called future nucleus finally becoming the present? We'll see. But they need to do something. And that's another team. We were talking about the Bruins in a center position, and you would think Steve Yzerman being a center would have shored that up by now. That's a team that I don't understand how that's not one of their strengths right now.
No,
I really
there. If the term I came up with Duffer was,
it's Larkin, and then it's a mishmash,
it
right?
was like plug and play.
Yeah,
If you think the Bruins are plug and play, the Red Wings are 5 times plug and play. Like it's
yeah.
what's going on. Okay, the third thing that popped up while we were chatting, you mentioned Jeremy Swayman's name,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you use the word if it's Jeremy Swayman. So are we talking about Jonas Corposalo's beating out Jeremy Swayman? I mean, what's happening? Are you
No,
kind of
no. What I meant by
paused?
if, what I meant by if, and this is kind of this is could be a future little story I'll be writing on RG soon. That not a lot of people have picked up right now is that first year his contract has no protection, and
Right.
this, yeah, like right. So he goes up until no, excuse me, the second year. So the first 2 years of his contract have no protection. He goes until July 1st with no protection. If after the bleep storm that was last year for Jeremy Swayman and the Boston Bruins. And it wasn't all his fault. But
Yeah.
let's just tell it like it is. If he doesn't have that holdout, if he doesn't hold out at camp and comes in rusty as he was, I don't think he's as bad as he was. So now he's got a full camp under his belt. He had a so-so first preseason game the other night. I think he'll get one more start on Saturday. The Bruins play Thursday in Washington. They'll come back and they get the Rangers, I believe, in a matinee Saturday for their final preseason game. I'd expect him to get the start there. So he gets 2 full games. He's coming in more prepared. He's fresh. He's had a good summer. But if he gets out to anything close to the start that he had last year, the Bruins are done. I mean, they're gone by Thanksgiving, and we're talking Gavin McKenna. We're talking let's tank for McKenna by then because that's how it's got to be now, Simmer, with the way the cap is and the way everything's going on in hockey right now. I think teams are going to have to admit that they're probably not a playoff team a little earlier than they have in the past.
Yeah.
So you wonder, let's say the Bruins have kind of privately reached that conclusion by, let's say New Year's, maybe the week before the Olympic break.
Yeah, but do you really think they're that bad? Because obviously players don't give a shit whether or not they draft the top player, like and he makes the NHL and whatever, because they might not be around to enjoy it. What they're
I
trying to
think they're
win.
that bad that they look at it and I hope they can look at themselves and admit it. And they say, hey, this guy's still got value. He's still young. He's locked in. His cap hit, if he turns his game around, his cap hit's going to be a deal a couple of years from now, given the rise in salary cap. And they say, oh, Stan Bowman, you still need a goalie for
Right.
that last run. Oh, and by the way, yeah, that's right. Connor only signed for 1 or 2 years, right? Because he wants you to show him that you're legit. You want to try and win the Stanley Cup. And you say, throw us a deal for Jeremy Swayman. I think Jeremy Swayman could be on the market if the Bruins are out of it come, say, like I said, Olympic break.
So does that no move or no no protection situation lasts through 2027 summer?
It lasts the rest of his deal, but I think as it goes on, it becomes more modified.
Right. Well, he's
We
making
can even, let's to be sure, let's pull it up right now. I just want to make sure.
he's making 8.3 and it goes through 2032. Holy.
Are you looking at it too now? Okay. Let's see.
I'm not looking at the protections. I'm just looking at his numbers.
Okay, so
well,
the no movement kicks in.
Kicks in next summer. He has a complete no
Yes.
movement clause. Can't be traded, sent to the minors, or waived. So
right, and that is in effect until 29/30. That changes to modified.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that means he's around at his, he decides for that 4-year period. So if they want to get rid of him, like you suggested, it would have to be before next
It
summer.
has to be now. It has to be by next July 1st. So I think that's something that if this season goes as expected, I think that's something the Bruins need to explore. And here's the other thing. What happens with Michael DiPietro, a guy who was in your neck of the woods for a bit, who was the best goalie in the AHL last year? They're coming up on a big decision in the next few days. Within the week, they have to decide, are we sending him down or are we keeping 3? And if they send him down, he has to clear waivers.
Yeah.
So let's say they say, hey, we like this kid enough. Let's say something happens where Mikey DiPietro has another amazing year. He's able to clear waivers and he has another great season. And they look at it and say, you know what? We can make do. We can get goalies on the cheap for a while here. If we can get a boatload for Jeremy Swayman, let's do it. I just think it's something that has to be contemplated. I don't think it's happening now, but when we get back, you bring me on maybe at the Olympic break. I think that's something that could be a topic.
Right. When you first said his name, by the way, Rick DiPietro popped in my head. Started convulsing.
Hey, went to my high school.
13-year deal. He went to your high school?
Yeah.
What high school?
St. Sebastian's High School, Needham, Mass. Good hockey factor. Mike Greer was there.
Needham, Mass.
Yeah. Noah Hannafin.
One of the legendary Mike Milbury moves when he was with the New York Islanders.
They did not teach us at St. Sebastian's how to get that type of contract in life.
God.
We just I missed that class.
You were in the back.
Yeah. I was in detention.
All right. Is there anything what's interesting about this though is most of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, your regulars are essentially under contract. This lineup, this roster that you're talking about, there's really only a couple of guys that are restricted free agents or unrestricted next summer. They're not monumental members of maybe Victor Arvidsson, but otherwise everybody else is tied into this team for the next 2 seasons, starting with this one.
Right. So that makes you wonder if the Bruins are out of it again at the deadline. Does Sweeney try to unload some of that again? And by the way, look, I think when all is said and done and we look back on last year's trade deadline, I do think Don Sweeney did a good job. I'll give him a lot of credit for that. Yeah. Like, I don't think this team should, I think he has a lot to blame, shares a lot of the blame right now for what they might do this year and what they did last year. But at the same time, I do think he made the best of a bad situation.
Right. I love the fact you're watching the Red Sox game right now. And
I am. I'm trying to stay focused.
It's Red Sox Yankees.
6th inning. Yeah.
What's funny too is the whole time it's like you're watching a fireworks display because the screen is flashing colors at you as the shot changes on the baseball game. So
it's great. You went to a few of those when you were here. So, no?
This is the definition of Boston sports, by the way, right now. Like,
yeah,
I just was reminded of this. I think it was when I was watching the John Martin stuff. I go, bar none, the greatest sports city. I've been in 50 states, 40 countries. I've been in every major metropolis, multiple sports, top to bottom, across the board. No sports city like Boston in the universe. I mean, it's like sports is a big deal a lot of different places, okay? But it's not a part of the daily life ingrained across the board on a daily basis. It's hard to describe.
It's part of the fabric.
But it's part of the fabric. And you talking about the Bruins while watching the Red Sox is just absolutely beautiful. So All
I
right.
mean, I'll tell you this quick too, and it's funny you bring that up because unfortunately, I mean, it's not a great thing, but one of my good friends that I grew up with. I don't know if you ever met my buddy Jeff from Arlington when we were here and some of our adventures we had
It's
outside the rink.
possible.
I'm sure you did. He was at my wedding, so you
Oh,
probably
I'm
met.
sure I met him.
He was part of the wedding party.
Okay.
Uh, he unfortunately is dealing with his fourth bout against brain cancer. He's beat it three
Oh,
times, so he's
geez.
not doing too well. And he said to his mom, he can't really. He's like having a lot of trouble speaking. He's really not doing well, and he said, "Get Murph up here to watch the Sox Yankees tomorrow night. If make it happen." And I said, "No problem, my honor." But the fact that a guy is staring what he's staring at right now,
Yeah.
and that's his thought is get Murph in so we can watch some
Watch
Sox
the ball
Yankees.
game.
That explains it all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I wish him the best, and I'm sorry to
Thank you.
hear that about the struggle. I'm sure I've met this guy.
Yeah, you did.
Um, all right, Murph, I'll let you,
And
I'll
look
let
at
you
you with the
back.
Nantucket shirt on. I just noticed that.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Represent three,
Good stuff, man.
three summers and two falls on the little gray lady.
Yeah,
Oh, talk about a good time. All right.
yeah. And
Uh,
hey, speaking of, we're gonna do one of these from the sevens someday, hey?
I was just going to mention I'll meet you at the sevens.
All right.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
Murph, thanks very much. Oh, and by the way, I know you're dying to talk Seattle Kraken. So whenever
Oh,
you're ready to break it down,
oh yeah, for sure.
so then you can just kind of take that and set it aside until April. You know,
Yep.
we'll hit it once. And then, okay, that's
Sounds
out
like
of the
a plan.
way.
Yep.
But I have some insights that most people will not have. So it's
Well,
something.
you know what? Hey, when the Bruins play the Kraken and the Canucks, let's make you our post game guest on the new Bruins Vibes podcast.
There you go. And shoot me on
All
the
right.
eye test when
Oh
pre-game
yeah.
before it all
Pierre,
happens.
Pierre loves you, buddy. We'll get you on. Don't worry.
Maybe that week. Yeah, say hi to Pierre. I haven't seen him in a while. He wasn't on the last time I was on. He was might have been scouting or he's overseas or what the hell he was
Yeah,
doing.
I think
Can't remember. It's all right. Say hello
sure.
anyway.
All right.
Great stuff, Murph. We'll pump it. Honesty, ball busters. That's what we like. Eye
Yep.
test with Pierre Maguire, Sick
Hmm.
Media, and RG Media. You'll see Murph do the writing. And the name of your new podcast with the Bruins with Mr. Snot is
Bruins Vibes.
Bruins Vibes with Mr. Senate.
Senate and Mr. Murphy.
Senate. All right. He'll
All
love
right.
that. Take it easy, Murph. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, buddy.